All right. All right. We are here for the late night beat stream. Welcome, everybody. Probably going to be on for like an hour or two. I know I'm here a little late. It is the late night beat stream. But yeah, welcome. I know I just started it. And I said I would stream on Friday. Um and I've been thinking about how that last stream ended. Because I think there's a lot of Christians that they claim righteous judgment, um, but they don't always have nuance with what they say. And I think that goes for all of us at times. There's times where we may approach something with a biblical lens, but we may not have nuance to what that specific person is going through. Oh, hold on. What's going on with this? What do you mean my microphone's messed up on the TikTok side? What? Virtual out 3 and 4, it should be there. Hold on. What do you mean? Seems like it's pipelining totally fine. Let me check the virtual mixer. What's going on? Yeah, 3 and 4 is working. Shows it. Shows it working totally fine. Virtual recording 1 and 2. And then my question is, yeah, because why is it not showing up on the TikTok side? That's so stupid, bro. I had it working literally yesterday, but apparently it just doesn't want to work right now. Because I have it. Maybe I just gotta change the settings again to 1 and 2 and then back to 3 and 4 and see if it'll fix it. Because it's showing that it's pipelining. Like, the audio should be working. But I have no idea why it's not working on TikTok right now. Oh, hold on. Now, hold on. Let me turn off live preview. See if it... Yeah. Okay. Now it's working. For some reason, it just said no sound detected. But welcome to the late night stream. I really think right now, in certain situations when it comes to like music or just like Christianity, like Christian music in general, we have to have nuance on certain situations, right? Like, some people just might not like Christian hip hop or like modern music. I don't think that it means that it's worldly, because some of the same music that they would say is not worldly takes from things of the world. And I think that you can use Christian hip hop and other genres of music as a tool to help other people find their way closer to God. Now, my stance on it being played in the church, I don't exactly know. I don't really have a good answer for that. Because here's the interesting thing. Before I was saved, okay, I actually used to listen to Christian metalcore groups in my area, in the local area. I would go to this church in Goshen, Indiana, and there would be people throwing down in the mosh pit. So it was like I was getting experience or some sort of connection about prayer or God there because they were introducing it. They were talking about the Word of God. They were putting that there. I just didn't believe at the time because of who I was and what background I came from. But I just loved going to music. So I feel like, what is going on, dude? What? What is going on with something's going on with the TikTok side for some reason. It says it's disconnecting, live disconnected, couldn't connect, trying to reconnect now. Let's see. Maybe it's working now. But yeah, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat, do all that jazz. That helps out a lot when it comes to the stream. About music, okay? Because I really think this is a conversation that needs to be had. For example, I actually watched a video a moment ago about should Christian artists or people who listen to, people who are in leadership in some sort of way in the church, should they drink alcohol? Should they consume alcohol? And I think that this is one of those instances where we need to have nuance with what we do in that sense. My stance is, I think it's okay if, one, they do not struggle with it. Like, it's something where it's not ever been something that they struggle with in a sin level, right? Like, they continue to consume alcohol outside of somewhere. And the other thing that I would say, too, is I don't think that they should do it in most public spaces. Like, say they're at church and they're about to deliver a sermon, or after church. I think that's just a bad place to do that. I think if maybe you wanted to go out to dinner and maybe it's you and your wife, you could consider having a drink, but be responsible. Okay, I think that that's ultimately it. Do I have any tips for getting into mixing? One, before you start mixing a record, try and figure out gain staging. That's actually a good place to start when it comes to mixing. So there's going to be different levels of gain. You're going to have your clip gain, which is going to be what you see in the timeline. And then you're going to have your fader gain. And then you're going to have your master output. The goal is whatever you have on the clips, or say you have a MIDI instrument, maybe turning down certain instruments in the track before it hits the fader. Because that's why it's called gain staging. There's different stages of gain that occur when you are dealing with mixing. So sometimes if your vocals are too quiet, boosting the levels a little bit, but just know if you had a lot of noise with some of the things that you use, you may need to use some sort of denoising plugin or things of that nature to get a better recording, better sounding recording before you go into the actual mixing part of it. Oh, okay. So with that too, as long as they're not clipped, I think the main things I've learned is starting out gain staging and getting your levels is probably the most important thing when it comes to mixing and getting a good sound. Because if you start there and you're able to get things managed on a level side first, then you go into EQing, compression, maybe, depends on exactly what you're doing. If you want something to sound a certain way, it just depends. If you're starting on a track, I think for me, because I do a lot of hip hop and electronic, what I like to do is I like to do some creative mixing, which I would call sound design, while I'm creating the track. So I have a reference of where I want it to go. But, for example, some of the more common tips are using high pass filters on tracks that don't necessarily need all the low end to be playing through the track. So for example, if you have synth pads, or if you have a lead vocal, or if you have certain instruments that are kind of clogging the low end, so the bass guitar and the kick drum of your drums are not able to pop through, a high pass filter or a low cut filter is actually a really good place to start with a lot of things, just not aggressive mixing. I think not being aggressive about what you do is good. Starting out small, and then if you're doing cuts, which I would suggest with using EQ, like plus or minus 3 dB is a good reference point. It's not the say all end all, it's just a good starting place. The other thing too is getting familiar with the types of compressors that exist. So like there's tons of free versions of compressors that exist. Like if you've ever heard of the LA2A, that's a common compressor. A distressor, that's a very well-known compressor. And there's free versions out there that are actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. You just have to do your research on the free plugins, and you'd be surprised. Because that's what I would say. I would say start with gain staging, the most simple thing, which is volume, and starting and understanding that the clips that you recorded in the timeline are the first place you want to start. Because here's how it goes. It goes clip volume, fader volume, master volume. That's how it's actually routed in your system. So if you're clipping in here, even if you turn this fader up or down, you're clipping. It doesn't matter. Like, you're still clipping. But yeah, I know I got a little sidetracked there, but I think, dang, dude. Young Sensei. Who is this? Dang, I've been getting some people that, like, have some decent following across the board that have been following what I do. I'm shocked. But I think it's because I want to talk about real topics that people struggle with, or just give hope and show people the gospel, like the truth of the gospel. And also give them resources and tools for doing things that they love. Like, you know, that's the goal with songwriter support. So what I was saying a little bit earlier was nuance with certain topics. So if we end up having Junior come on and actually give me a call on Discord, like if he's here, I would actually love to have that conversation we were ending off on. I felt like I wasn't angry, but I was frustrated because I feel like there's a lot of people that do not have nuance with what they do, or what they say sometimes. So they think that when they're like, well, this sounds too worldly, they don't realize that that same argument can sometimes be made for the same exact thing that they enjoy. And I think what being worldly really is when you're trying to appease the world. You're trying to please the world. And I was actually watching a really good video by Melissa Dotrey today. She just dropped it, and it just blew my mind because it did talk about the New Apostolic Reformation and some of the people who may have really formed that theology, and kind of how it led up to like Stephen Furtick and certain pastors, just trying to make everything more acceptable instead of telling them the truth that they are sinners, they have sinned before a holy God, and we need Jesus more than ever. And it showed me that we need to have nuance with the things that we say and the things that we do. Because if we just try to heavy-handed say, oh, everything is demonic, everything we don't agree with is demonic, or everything that seems bad or seems worldly is going to have no good to it. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Is my internet going out? Probably. Darn it, dude. I had a feeling as soon as I start talking about a real topic, right, and wanting to engage in a real conversation, this is when it unfolds. But I don't want, you know what, I'm not going to say this. I don't know if it's just if it is demonic activity. I'm not going to assume that, because there's times where I do say that. Okay. And I realize this is the real conversation, is we need to have nuance with the things we talk about, the things we do, the things we say. So, for example, I just watched a video before stream that was talking about drinking. And my stance on alcohol is that if it's something that you struggle with being led into drunkenness or alcoholism, and like, don't go in those environments, abstain from it, get away from it, flee from it. But the real question was, are people who do music at a high level, like worship leaders or pastors, should they just completely abstain from it? And I think this is why I'm saying we need to have nuance with it. And I think the answer is they should abstain from it in public places like the church, which some of these places have alcohol and wine at the church. I think they should abstain from it there. And it's something that they can do within the privacy of their own homes. But if they're leading into drunkenness, I think that there needs to be a Matthew 18 conversation, a Matthew 18:15 conversation, which we had, actually, shout out Joshua if he ends up popping on the stream. Like, we had talked about that on the last stream. Like, it's something where it needs to be addressed personally and be like, hey, are you struggling? Like, is this something that you struggle with? Like, is this something you need for me to pray for you about? But I think if they want to go out to dinner, or if they wanted to be responsible and consume alcohol, I think that's okay. I think the problem is when it's the same thing with overeating, which I sometimes struggle with. I'm not going to lie. I used to stress eat a lot. I don't do it as much anymore, and there's times where it's like I've fallen back into it. I have to be 100% transparent with that. Gluttony is definitely a sin that leads to death. 100% is. That's why there's a lot of people in America that struggle with obesity. And it ends up leading to heart failure, kidney failure. And then with alcoholism, it's liver failure, right? So I think it's the same thing where it's like, if you stumble, like if it's something that's absolutely going to make you stumble, then don't consume alcohol. But also too, like I think if you are an artist, like if you're doing it in a place where you're maybe ministering to people, or you're in a public place where somebody who maybe struggles with alcohol addiction or alcoholism, like I wouldn't do it there. That's why I'm saying having nuance with it. Because don't get me wrong, dude, if you've ever dealt with the music industry, they try to convince you to become an alcoholic. They really do. For anybody who's ever done anything with the music industry when it comes to live events or behind the scenes, it's very common. But that's my stance on it, is I think that before I start streaming and making beats, we need to have nuance with what we talk about and how we talk about it. Because if we don't, we can't properly discern. Because when we don't have nuance about things, we don't leave room for grace. We don't leave room for, we don't leave room for mercy. We don't leave room for Jesus to come into the conversation. Because if we try to be legalistic about everything and we have no nuance with what somebody's going through or what situations are going on, oh, dude. This is why is this going bad right now? Why is this going so bad? Let me turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone and see if it fixes it. But yeah, oh, dude, that's crazy. Ooh, that's crazy, dude. I just got somebody who is a fighter. I'm going to have to check him out later, bro. That's insane. I never thought that any of my content would ever appear in front of somebody who I really think this is God moving in these type of situations. But I'm recognizing that when I start talking about how we can have more grace for people, it's helping me realize a couple things. One, um, I've been frustrated about the way people respond to certain situations because that's not the way I would do it. But it's showing me, hey, you know what? Maybe they just don't truly understand how to have nuance on certain things. Like being able to say, hey, you know what? I don't know everything about this. Let me hear what they're saying and not just think that I know the 100% answer. Because I think there's times where people get so legalistic about the gospel or about spreading the gospel that they don't hear people's problems. They don't hear their hearts. They don't hear the church hurt and the things that they went through. Because they're so focused on, well, you don't know the truth. And thinking that, when that might not even be the truth. Maybe they do. Maybe they struggle with accepting it because there's many people that come around and don't listen to what they have to say and have nuance with what they say. And they feel like, hey, you know, even though I understand this person's judging me in a way that is just turning, it makes me feel like their heart is of stone. They're not interested in hearing what I have to say. They're so stuck in their ways. And it's sad because I've been feeling that recently. It's like, I'm not going to lie, I've been frustrated about the last couple days because I've been seeing what's going on with something that happened in June, but it like didn't hit my feed until now. And on top of that, just what's going on with everything. Like, I think we need to have a lot more nuance. Because if we don't, it's not just about being the most acceptable, right? And like loving the world and stuff like that. I really think it's deeper than that. There's something more important there. Like, we can't just say everything is bad, everything is good, or things of that nature. Like, we need to have some sort of waypoint where we say, hey, I don't think I know enough about this situation to say that you're right or wrong. But on top of that, too, we can have grace for people and help them see the love of God. Because I've been starting to realize, man, there's too many people weaponizing the word and just trying to be like, well, Jesus would be this, Jesus would be that, Jesus would be this political figure. You shouldn't drink because the Bible says this. You shouldn't do that. I'm doing amazing, man. Thank you, Joshua. Thanks for hopping in. But literally, I was just talking about how we ended the last stream and how I was frustrated about it because it's made me realize what it was is people not having nuance and grace for situations. Like, and I think that's what was frustrating about it, was understanding like people can use scripture to justify their standpoints of how they view the world. And this makes me feel this type of way. But they don't step away from their emotions and realize the gospel doesn't care about your emotions. The gospel cares about your salvation. And we need to have nuance for people's struggles, man. Like, we have to be able to listen to what they're saying and know how to help them either course correct or understand what they're going through. But yeah, dude, it's been really blessed. Dude, thank you. I'm so grateful, man. Like, I'm surprised how God is working today. Like, you know, it's something where even though Oh, see, now things are disconnecting on TikTok. It's been like real up and down. I don't know what's going on. But it's like a lot of crazy stuff. And it's funny, this is why I think this is important, because there's times where this stuff happens where like a live doesn't work or things start glitching out, and I want to be like, it's the enemy. But it's like, I need to have nuance with this. Like, I think there's something deeper here. It's like, we need to stop focusing so much on the demonic and the spiritual side of things. Like, we know this stuff exists, but why would God talk about the word coming among us and being in the flesh and, giving his life for us, if that wasn't the most important thing? And that was the thing that's always been hammered throughout the entire book, is the need for that and the fulfillment of that. And, thank you all so much. Like, it's crazy. I just had I think he's a UFC fighter, just followed my page on TikTok a moment ago. I'm going to have to check out his page. But yeah, it looked like a dude who had like 100K followers was a UFC fighter. I'm just mind blown that the people that are finally being seen. I'm so grateful, man. Like, and I'm so grateful for that, because, when I used to write music, that was what I wanted. It wasn't that I wanted people to understand me when I used to write lyrics. Let me rephrase that. When I used to write, I wanted people to understand me. But now, what I want is for people to know Jesus. Like, and I feel like having that switch in my lyrics and in what I want to make my music about has just made my life better. Like, even though right now, my delivery job has been way more like I don't even know how I've been getting work other than just God being good. And it's been really showing me like how good God is the entire time. And I think that there's just something bigger with this platform. Like, it's not about just trying to grift to people. It's trying to help people like learn new skills and appreciate the gifts that God gave them, and maybe even have them consider, like, no matter where they are, that they could repent and they could change, and that they could use that gift for God and bless other people with that gift. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. And that God probably placed that in your heart for a reason, but you need to pay attention to God and what he wants for your life more than what your heart wants. And I think that's a struggle that many believers have probably gone through. Especially because, like, if you've ever dealt with the music industry, it's easy to fall into all that. And I know, Joshua, like, you've been through that. You've been through those type of situations where, people offer you like cool opportunities and things of that nature, and you're just like, is this the right thing for me? You know what I mean? And I feel like that's why now, with what I'm making, like, God is pushing me to do all of it, because I don't think I'm alone in what I've experienced, especially in the music industry. Like, I'm definitely not alone. And I've had to learn that. Like, I think the big one was there's a video of me posting my testimony about leaving Sweetwater on this page. And when I first posted that on my Swami's Den page, it got almost 20,000 views. And most of it was sales engineers sharing it that were about to leave or had left, because I wasn't afraid to say something about it. But I ended up deleting it because I listened to somebody, which I probably shouldn't have. Because I think it would have been a testimony that people saw and was like, you know what? It's not that, oh, I shouldn't shop with Sweetwater anymore. It's more so, hey, these people, They're just like us. They're just struggling in a different way. And what's good, Spec Wolf? Welcome to the TikTok stream. I know it's been kind of cutting out. Don't know why. But thank y'all for hopping in for real. I'm going to pin the comment on here because I should, just so more people know. But if you haven't checked out my music, Myron the Disciple is the place if you want to hear a catalog of what I do. There's a whole YouTube page. I'm on Spotify. That is the name. And shout out everybody who's been checking it out for real. Like, if you don't like lyrics, you got the instrumentals. I do hip-hop, R&B. That's kind of the realm that I reside in. But I actually just dropped a beat tape called Discipleship Volume 1. It was like 15, 16 beats from the stream. And I also have been dropping singles. But I think next week, it's either this week or next week, the Throwaways, which is like all of the songs that were made with those beats, are going to be posted too. So there should be about, like, if you heard Discipleship Volume 1, it's going to be pretty much all of those songs will be out now. But I think it's like 12 or 13 of them, like the ones that I was just like, I don't know, I don't want to drop them as singles. I'm going to just drop them as a tape, put them out there, and help people realize, like, a lot of times with your gift, with music, put it, just put it out there. You really don't know. And there's songs that you think are good, but like what you think is good and what God thinks and what God needs you to do are sometimes two different things. Like, and what God can actually push is like two different things. But I'm just so grateful that even one person, like, shout out Joshua for just listening to what I've been putting out there, because I feel like that's what my lyrics do bring, is just peace. And the peace of what God is. But also the truth of what God is too. And I think that's what brings the peace. Because I'm not afraid to say certain things, but I'm not doing it in this way that's like condemning people of their sin, or it's more so me talking about where I was and who I was and what Jesus brought me out of. Like, I think that's what brings the peace, is the fact that I'm not trying to be like, this is conviction music, or, because I think there's a lot of people, maybe they need that, right? But that's just not what I do. Like, I feel like most of what I do is, this is what I've learned from failure. And it's crazy to me. I'm going to be 30 in 5 days as of this recording. I'm going to be 30 years old. And it's taken me about 18 years, more than half of my life, to even get here. So God doesn't want you to give up. He wants you to give it all to Him and trust that no matter how long it takes. Thank you. No matter how long it takes, trust Him. And I'm still working on that, dude. I think that's the most difficult thing you can do, is walking with faith, not by sight, and understanding what that is. That means when things look insane and you have no idea where it's going to go, just fully submitting and trusting Him. Because you never know who you can impact. You never know who's watching. And like, even when I'm on this stream, bro, somebody who's like an MMA fighter just followed my page and liked it. And I'm like, what? Because I made a video and I haven't posted it to YouTube, but I was just saying, creation, like creating art, is like going to the gym. If you're not disciplined, you don't grow. And as somebody now, there's only like 2 days I missed out of this year of me going to the gym. But when you're consistently creative, oh, what's good, Forrest? Thanks for hopping in, bro. when you're consistently creative, and you're disciplined in that, you can grow more. But when you stop and you just give up, you lose all that momentum and you have to start all the way over again. Thank you, Spec Wolf. God bless you, man. Thanks for checking out the stuff. I feel like I've got a few in the pipeline right now, but just haven't finished them, bro. I gotta finish them. So let me make like a sign. I'm gonna cook something up tonight. I think that'll be the goal. Unless Junior hops in, unless we can have that conversation. Because I made a song on the last stream, and I make Christian hip hop. That's what I do. And the guy was like, "Why are you, hey, lyrically this is good, but why are you rapping on beats? This is too worldly." And I'm like, I listened to the songs that he suggested, or like heard a brief moment of the songs he suggested to listen to, and I was like, somebody's had this same exact comparison across music history. Because if you look at music history, it's insane. I read a book online called The History of Music in the Gutenberg Library. It's free. And it blows your mind that music historically was used for religious purposes. And when you look at Gregorian chant, there was a point in history where one person singing one note and one person singing another note was so frowned upon. Like harmony didn't even exist. So it was just monophonic singing until somebody said, hey, like, this is okay. We need to stop worrying about that. And I think God can work through any medium, any place, man, at any time, and anybody that he really chooses to. But there's times too where you have to open up your heart and just be real. And I think there's times where people, that's why, it goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of the stream, is we got to have nuance. Like, we need to use the Bible as our authority, but we need to have nuance, and we need to come at it with love and compassion and help them understand that maybe we don't know exactly what they're going through, but God does. And sometimes people are so heavy-handed with how they respond to it that it hardens other people's hearts and it leads them away. And we got to keep that in mind when we communicate to people, or even like share the gospel with people, or share anything with people. I think that is, because there's some truths of the Bible that are just hard. Like, that's 100% true. But I also think the way that you do it and the approach, like, some people are so heavy-handed with everything and they have no nuance that it feels like, bro, were you even listening to what I was saying, or where I was going with things? And that's the most difficult thing about it, is like, how do I be as truthful and real without compromising? Because there's levels to it. There really is. And it was interesting. I was watching a video from Melissa Daughtry today about her talking about was it Robert Schuller? And how he kind of formed the new the roots of the New Apostolic Reformation. And how, like, basically, that was somebody who majorly... thank you for hopping back in. He was somebody who, Robert Schuller, majorly affected the New Apostolic Reformation and the forming of the, like, televangelist church that has kind of watered down the gospel to make it so that people are not offended. And that's why I'm saying nuance is what's important. Is like, there's times where it's like, we're gonna offend people. But then there's other times where it's like, maybe we offended that person because we didn't even hear them. Like, we didn't even listen. We were just so focused on spreading what we think is, what we think is the heart of the matter and the truth. When, like, really that's not what they needed right at that moment. We just had to plant the seed. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for checking out the account. Like, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who's been hopping in and, like, checking out Myron the Disciple, checking out the music. I haven't even really laid anything down with the stuff that I freshly produced tonight, but I just felt that on my heart tonight is um I think eventually there's going to be a point where God's going to put me in a places where we can have these conversations about how do we have nuance when spreading the gospel and who we talk to, because there's times where it's like, dude, those people do not want to listen and you're going to have to step away. Oh, yeah. Well, God's protecting this stream for sure. Yeah, that's what Myron the Disciple is. If you check that pinned comment, I think I pinned it on the stream. That's the page. Yeah, Myron the Disciple. You know what? Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I would say most of the stuff that I do is Christian rap. That's kind of the realm that I sit everything in. Where did I have it? Project files. There it is. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Ableton project files. I forgot. See, nuance. This is why you got to have like different organization and different things set up. But yeah, most of the stuff I make is there, man. All right, so we're gonna make this fresh. Like I want to make. I feel like I should make something that's just. It's 2 chords. Keep it simple, but do like sound design. Okay. So I feel like fragments tonight. I really like this plugin. This plugin's been starting to grow on me. It's so insane. Like it just turns everything very spacey. Or just weird. Thank you. Oh, hold on. This one. This one. That one for sure. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same MIDI. I'm going to freeze this and then, because I like that. But then I think I'm going to take another Fragments preset and make that reverb pad sound so it like sits in the background. So for people who produce and stuff like that, understand that you can layer in this way too. Like this is a form of sound design where sometimes I like taking presets from other plugins because this one, it's like a granular stretching reverb type of plugin. This one's really insane. It's called Fragments by Arturia. Dude, they make such good stuff. A lot of the stuff, this is like, their creative plugins are the most insane ones. They really are. But their other plugins, dude, they emulate hardware that's real pieces of gear, like super well, and give you extra features that they don't have. Oh, dude, that cathedral reverb one? Yeah, okay. So here's the other thing. My computer's super old. So some of these plugins, when I put things in a certain buffer size or a certain way, I literally had this computer crash super hard once on like the first major TikTok stream I did. With major YouTube TikTok stream, I'm technically streaming on both. Dude, my computer did not handle that at all. It's super bad. But just know, dude, you literally can do this with anything. You'd be surprised at like how well you really can do things with very limited resources. Oh yeah. Okay, UAD Polymax. I'm not gonna lie, when this was free, I don't know if it still is. This one's baller, dude. This is a really good plugin. Sounds really good. I used it on my last song and I was like, this definitely has the analog synth vibes. And even the way it's laid out has the analog synth vibes, which is what I really like about it. And even the presets were good. So I'm like, all right, this is definitely a vibe. This one's definitely really awesome. Da 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 ba bum bum bum. Okay. There you go. Okay. kind of like how that is. It's just like, it's like a.
Now you are so loved. You are so loved by the one above. Now you are so loved. You so loved by one above. Okay, hold on. That last one. Like that. I riffed on that. I liked that. You
Let me do it with the thick one. Thank you. Yeah. That's the one. Dude, I've been playing for such a long time too, and I need to be practicing more, but it's crazy, the stream is like the only time I play guitar anymore. I used to play like every day. I don't got it like I used to. I gotta set this thing up, but I like where this is going. I'm torn because I like that, but I also like. Yeah, this John Petrucci pick sounds better. I'll go with this one. Yeah, that's like a first try. Well, after practicing. So I like that. I feel like that bass line is cool, and I just need to like freeze that one and change the sound so it's more like an 808. Then boom. I've got a sample. I don't know what it is about the like ninths, like the minor 9 chords. But I play those a lot with the guitar. Like, there's just something about the, like, adding the 9th on there. Like, dun-dun-dun. I love that. It just reminds me of what I used to listen to a lot. Like, I used to listen to, like, The Faceless, Contortionist. I used to listen to very technical guitar stuff growing up. Like, that was my, what I thought was cool. And I feel like that played into what I ended up liking to do with my songwriting is like I like adding different types of genres and stuff like that, like, jazzier guitars with the metal sound, like the jazz metal type of stuff, like, or prog rock. I'll tell you what's cool, man. Yes, Between the Buried and Me, dude. I saw them live. I think I saw them when they redid, it wasn't Colors Live, but they toured one of the old albums and one of the new albums. Like, they played one of them all the way through. Between the Buried and Me was such a cool experience. That's, like, a really good, like, even if you don't, like, I don't agree with everything what they say lyrically now, but if you couldn't be inspired by their music, you'd be mind blown. Like, you'd be a liar, man, because their music's very inspirational. I'm not gonna lie, it's very creative. Definitely something that's just not like, there's nothing that sounds like them. There's nothing that sounds like Between the Buried and Me, and nobody could try. It's difficult. honestly feel like stretching them out. Oh, I should have done this. There we go. Yeah, Between the Buried and Me is definitely one of those bands where it's like, as much as you could hear their music in the studio, hearing them live is like, that's a whole nother level. You're like, dude, you can really play that? Like, you can really play that? All the way through, no stops, no pauses. They were probably the most mind-blowing. They're probably one of the most mind-blowing bands to see live, I'm not going to lie. Them and also R.I.P. Trevor, but Black Dahlia Murder. Before I was saved, I used to listen to them. I saw them live. I saw Rings of Saturn live too, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. Like, Rings of Saturn was tough to figure out because the room I was playing in, bro, their sound engineer was so bad, he kept blowing the subs. He kept, like, doing something where the subs would go out, and basically, like, I couldn't tell if they were really playing live or not. It was tough. But they were crazy. Like, I don't think it was backing tracks. I really don't think it was backing tracks. But it was maybe it is now, though. I don't know. They're one of those bands where it's like, okay, For Today would have been probably would have been one of the coolest ones to see. Because I bet you the crowd was going insane. Like, that's one of those bands, especially if it was like right before they split. That was probably one of the more bonkers shows you could go see. I'm not going to hold you. Some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community experience. Oh, so somebody's hating in my TikTok chat. I think that's so crazy that, you know what I mean? Even if people are going to hate, I'm not going to, in most cases, I'm really not going to just block you. Like, unless it's something like, for example, when I was talking about, oh yeah, dude. It was the only time I blocked somebody was when I was talking about what was going on in the floods in Texas, and somebody just put something horrible in my TikTok comments that didn't get blocked because it was like a text type of thing. Let's just say it's something that you should have not been posting at all. Especially when I'm talking about people losing their lives. And I was like, bro, no. You're banned for that. That's the only time. Like, other than that, I mean, you're free to say what you want. But TikTok is they're the ones that are going to community guidelines you for saying something. Or YouTube. Like, I have no control over it. And if I do, I don't understand how the moderation works. Because I don't have mods. It's just me. So. that one guy's gonna come on and actually have that conversation. Because I genuinely do. I've been thinking about it the last couple days, and I was like, I genuinely wanted to have that conversation. But maybe I was just dead as he was just saying that, and then, he probably had to work. He had a life, so I respect that. Hold on. Yeah, actually. That's a good point. I have read about Gideon in the Bible, and I think that it actually come up recently when not in my current Bible time, but I was watching something recently. Hey, what's good, Kartik? Welcome to the stream. That kick drum's pop. Not on the first one, but on the... I love that. I am doing very well, honestly. I'm blessed, man. Crap. There we go. Yourself, everybody doing good? Oh, dude, my TikTok stream for some reason is just going in and out. Don't know what's been going on. But, hey, man, I think I might cook something up till like 2. Like, I got another 30 minutes I'm going to stay on here, and then I'm going to be firm on it because I'm feeling pretty tired, and I would like to maybe go to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh, my goodness. I hate saying it, but it's true, bro. That's like any more I feel like that's the time I'm going to sleep. But it's just because I work so late. Like tonight I actually worked. I said to myself, I was like, yeah, but here's the thing. Saturday is like my bread and butter day. Like I could, if I wake up early enough, bro, I could work the entire day usually. Most people work groceries on the weekend. So that's usually a pretty good day for me to work. So that's why I'm like, I try not to stay up. I mean, I do it anyways. Anymore, dude. I feel like I've just been staying up because I've been working on stuff constantly. And so I'm like, in that, oh, is it lagging? Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked right now. For some reason. What's good? Thanks for following the live. So yeah, I just been cooking up, talking on stream, share the stream. I'm blessed, man. Thanks for hopping in on the TikTok stream. I'm dual streaming on here and on YouTube. I'm doing very well. Everything has been really good. Been incredibly blessed. So share the stream, like the stream, do all that jazz. That helps a lot. Helps get it out to other people who want to hear some really cool music and maybe want to hear the word of God. Like, depends on how they feeling today, of course. But at the same time, like, God bless y'all for real. This has been amazing. That Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is how I want to regularly do it. Trying to get far into production. So I made a video. Actually, I dropped a video today. Creativity is much like coming to the gym. Like, staying disciplined is what's going to get you further in anything. So if you continually do it, like even if you're like, dude, this is bad, finish it. Like get in the habit of learning how to finish songs. And also on top of that, I'm going to give you a quick tip to help you remember your project files. Because I know a lot of times when I started out with production, I just would name the beat before I made it or do stupid stuff like that, like put a whole bunch of letters and stuff like that. I found this really cool method. Oh, hold on. Let me see if the TikTok stream will come back. It does this. Okay, so stream probably cut out for a sec. But what you do to save, okay, when you go to save the project file, go to, yeah. Well, no, I had another one that I dropped today on TikTok, but I didn't drop it on YouTube yet. So when you save the live file, what you do is, or save your project file, you put the year, you put the month, you put the day, and then whatever idea it is. If it's your first idea of the day, that's idea 1. When I tell you, you will never lose a project file. Like, look how many project files I have right here. And I could tell you what stream I did them on. You will remember. You will not lose that. Dude, I'm telling you, when you do this, you won't delete random stuff, and you'll remember when you do it. Because when you actually, say like you make an idea, and you're like, dude, this is just not what I want to release, which is fine. I think like try to flesh it out all the way and get it structured so you learn structure, you learn all that. But try this. Try this method of year, month, date. And you will be surprised, like, what was that beat that I made 6 months ago? And then you already narrowed it down. You're not sitting there like trying to figure it out, trying to look through, like, you're less likely to lose your project files. Does music theory play into part of music production? At a very basic level, yes. Because if you understand music theory, that's like a part of helping you understand like rhythm and pitch and those things combined. Because especially if you're dealing with music production, you like, for example, right, looking at this synth that I created, the 2 chords are a C minor 9 and a sharp. Yeah, hold on. Let me think. Because I know I took that. Okay, yeah, C sharp. And then, yeah, A minor 9. So, or actually, I think that, yeah, A, C sharp. No, A major 9 will do. But here's the thing. If you don't understand music production, if you are very new into music production, you don't understand theory that well, or even if you do understand theory that well, what I highly suggest is if you're using FL Studio, like using the scale modes, using like the major minor scale modes, because that's what I'm doing in Ableton. And when I flick it over to scale, it's so that when you skip every other note, it's going to make a chord. It's going to make a triad. It's going to make something. So you can start off by learning the root chord of the scale, which would be like C sharp minor in a C sharp minor scale. And you could just build it. You don't have to know everything about every chord, right? Like you can actually start building chords and morphing them, and every note's going to be in key. So what I would say is that's the first step. But then really what gets more into music production is sound design. So for example, right, even though I know the chord, this sound, right, it started off with making the synth. This was the synth that I made. I made it fresh on stream. It's real simple. It's just a sine wave, chorus, a little bit of downsample distortion, low cut. I probably could cut some of the highs, but I don't know. I kind of liked what it was doing. I'm actually just a little bit. So it's not too crazy. Flanger, reverb. Okay. Then I added this plugin Fragments, which is a granular synth. It's a granular plugin where basically it's like taking snippets of the audio. So understanding, like, even if you understand music theory, it's part of the battle, but it's not the thing that makes your music good. I think that it can help, but I think learning at least rhythm and learning key and learning those things, and learning how to get things in pitch, super important. But then once you start knowing that, sound design. The 360 audio effect. I'm wondering if I should do like a rotary. Yeah, this one, I'm going to do like a rotary effect. So those are some things I could give to somebody who's getting into music production, is like really learn like what sounds you want to go for. Like if you're, what's your goal with it? Are you trying to produce for artists? Are you trying to do like a certain type of... I've been doing production as a whole maybe 15, 16 years. And I've been playing guitar for like 18 years. Because, yeah, this is something that's important. Is like music theory, yes, there's importance to it. It all depends on genre, though. Okay, so when you deal with like Jay Dilla and RZA type stuff, I think what's difficult is you're going into a different realm with sampling. So like your goal with, if you want to produce stuff like that, you want to almost understand like music theory is definitely not as important. I would say maybe understanding rhythms and things like that would help you more, because you're dealing with sample chopping. You're dealing with that. But what's difficult about making beats like that is sampling. Like when you know your rights about sampling, when you know your rights about that, and having to work with artists now, knowing that you're sampling records, because that's what made a lot of Jay Dilla and a lot of like RZA type stuff, very good, was understanding how to hear a good sample and then how to splice it in rhythm. And there's tons of tools that are available. You can use your timeline and chop the sample up and get like a good sample chop. And then it's about finding a good realistic drum sound. So like that's why understanding sound design and sound selection, like more so with RZA and like old school hip hop, sound selection is more important than music theory. But if you wanted to make stuff that sounded like the samples that they would sample, right? That's when music theory would come in. Because then you would want to like learn how to make jazz or R&B or old school rock or like things like that, you know what I mean? Because if you want to be able to clear the samples eventually and work with artists, that gets into a whole new territory if you're not making that like right, exactly. Crate digging is such a big part of it. And I actually made a video on my YouTube channel talking about like the problem with copyright, like with essentially, you know, how Grandmaster Flash originated the style that eventually led to that led to Jay Dilla, that led to RZA, that led to the origins of hip hop, like early stuff. But if you're getting to that point where you're like, I want to make beats that could, you know, sound like sample flips, there's a website I'm going to recommend to you. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, this thumbnail was crazy. But if you want to deal with stuff that's actually like, okay, I need sample clearances, check out TrackLib. Dude, this website allows you to sample songs in different genres, and you can get sample clearances for the stuff. And I can't play it back on stream for copyright reasons, but I could literally go into a record, right? And it allows you to like peel the record from the section that you want to sample from. And then depending on how you want to get your rights, like you can get all your clearances for the samples. You should. Like there's free trials, like I would think if you want better protection and you want to work with artists and you want to give them the most transparent way of doing things, I think this is the best place to look because you can really get all of those sounds that you want to sample and use. And if you make a beat tape and you want to release it for money or do things like that, you can get all your clearances, all of your everything. You see what I'm saying? Because people don't realize, like, when you sample off of someone else, you run yourself the risk of being in some battle of litigation and dealing with the industry. But because this is like the only platform they designed that had a ton of, like, you could basically crate flip for, they have like free options or cheap options off the rip. And it just basically allows you to have music licensing so that you can crate flip and actually get the samples that you were looking for. You see what I'm saying? So that's what you have to be mindful of if you're doing certain genres, is like, as much as you could get something really, really good, like you could try and do an AI or something like that, like people are going to know and there's going to be issues. Whereas like this would allow you to get just about everything that you would need in a ton of like the clearances, which is the most important part if you were to, right. Cause like, I think starting out, if you're not going to drop the stuff, yeah, pull from it. You know what I mean? Because it's only when you put the artwork out that it becomes the litigation issue. If you're grabbing it, like say you use like a YouTube to MP3 pull just to like get the idea out there, right? As in like you get a cool idea, great. But if you're like, hey, I'm taking this seriously and I want to be able to use these samples and I want to work with artists and I want them to like know what rights, like I've got everything cleared, you're good to go. I think this is a good place because this is a problem that artists end up having later down the line, and I feel like being transparent and honest up front about rights, which I'm an advocate for that. Like I talk about that a lot on my stream. Is like I think what's wrong is even in Christian hip hop right now, where artists like will copy other artists that are secular or sample secular music or things like that, and they don't know what kind of dangerous game they're playing. Oh no, it doesn't just help, it gives you the sample clearance. Like it gives you the full clearance to use it in the way that you need it. Like it basically allows you to get the clearance that you, so if you were to post it and you were to register it with ASCAP or BMI, you would have to register the percentages and stuff like that, right? But when you go to download it, it tells you what the percentages would be and what the accepted, like everything's cleared. You're good to go. So basically, yes, it helps you with the copyright aspect of things. So that's why personally I kind of like modern stuff. Yeah, like and that's the goal. Is like if you're going to release music, you should at least know your rights. So for that, like the stream. Oh, I'm kidding. But if you want to, that'd be helpful. But yeah, like that's the kind of insight that I want to give people with this is like, if you're going to make music, know your rights. So like what I make, everything that you hear is original. Now drum samples, like these sounds that I'm using, those don't require clearances because there's different rights for drum samples, and even the Amen break was the example of like that's used in D&B. It's used in like so many different genres, and because of that, there's different rights for drum loops. It's melodic loops and vocal chops and stuff like that that actually have the major issues. So those are the ones that people will pursue, and there because of those different rights. Like, here's what I'll say: there's tons of websites that give you tons of free drum samples. I think the only problem you'll ever have is if you go to Splice and you deal with melodic samples, or if you go to what DAW would you start? I mean, use what you can get, bro. Cakewalk, which is BandLab's, that was the original software BandLab bought. Yeah, use Cakewalk, learn it. If you're trying to buy, and you're trying to keep it cost effective, FL Studio. If you're trying to get into like sound design and maybe outboard gear and stuff like that, Ableton. I used to sell this stuff. I was a Sweetwater sales engineer at one point, so like I know a lot of the different ones and kind of what the purpose is. So I would say learning Cakewalk, yes, it's a little confusing. I'm not gonna lie, as a DAW, but it's free. Another one I would use. I would say their mixing tools are kind of mid. I would say FL Studio is the main one. A lot of hip hop. Like, it just depends. Some of them use Ableton. They switched just because there's a lot you can do with sample stretching and without having to use the splicer. Like, it's like I could take this guitar part right here and I can reverse it by clicking it and doing that. You know what I mean? Like, just by cutting it and hitting the R button. So there's like a lot of different options that are available. You just have to know the purpose. Ableton's going to be more for people who like outboard gear and sound design. FL Studio is more for people who just want to be on a budget and like produce in a DAW that a lot of people know. BandLab is free. You can use that, or Cakewalk if you're using their free option. Reaper's another free one. It's like a WinRAR of DAWs. You just have to click still evaluating. But I like that one better for recording. Like if you're recording vocals, you're recording ideas, Reaper's like a really good free DAW. Um, but personally, I'm an Ableton Live user. Like I've been an Ableton Live user since 9, and I really, really like how this one works. But understand, like, when you get into the what is it? Oh, the GOAT 85. That's awesome. Thank you so much. But when you get into the different DAWs, they have different purposes. So Ableton's better for like live performance stuff. Like if you wanted to actually DJ a set and you wanted to integrate, because they have different modes. They have this clip launching view, which you see here, and then they have the timeline. And then when you deal with Pro Tools, it's actually for tracking studios. That's kind of like what you're going to see in LA if you go to like $1 million studio, or that they're using that for tracking and tracking vocals because it's an industry standard. Like basically Disney, Apple, and Avid, which is the company that made Pro Tools, they all laid in bed together and were like, Disney was like, hey, we're going to use Avid Media Composer for our entire catalog. So Apple, we want to work with you and integrate everything together. So then everybody in LA just like migrated towards it. Yeah, I mean that I would say that's fine too. Like if you're a Donner DM K25. What is that? Oh, MIDI controller? Okay, yeah, when you're dealing with that, that's more like when you integrate that, that's when you start wanting to learn a little bit about playing the keyboard and music theory and keys and stuff like that. Like for the bass line, like especially if you're doing boom bap stuff, probably for the bass lines. Like knowing a little bit about that so that you can lay down bass lines without clicking it in so much. But just know this, if you want to get better playback, check your buffer size. Check that. If that number is a little bit smaller, it's more likely to give you clicks and pops, but you're going to have less latency even when you're playing MIDI. And in Cakewalk, I think it might be called block size in there. And then there may be options for delay compensation. So buffer size or block size is, and I'll show you this. I'm going to show this for everybody on the stream, even though I'm making a video on this actually. So this number determines the amount of input latency and output latency that you're going to experience while you're recording or playing back your ideas. So the lower the number, the lower the latency, but the more it taxes on your computer's CPU and RAM. The higher the number, the more input and output latency you experience, but the less taxing it is on your computer because it's a buffer length. It's like a length of time to give your computer time to process the samples and the sounds. So if you're experiencing latency when you use it and you start using a MIDI controller, you may adjust that and see if you're getting clicks and pops. Because that's the main thing. Usually the number it sits at, and this number applies when, say you're using a driver like a ASIO for all if you're on PC, or if you're dealing with an audio interface, like say a Focusrite Scarlett or a Universal Audio Volt or like even a Apollo or things like that, something that's used to plug in a microphone like what I'm using here. That's what it is used for, is to determine basically the latency input and output wise. And why I say input and output is input's going to be your microphone, output's going to be your headphones. So it's like your round trip latency. That's what it determines. But it determines on the sample accuracy of your playback. So if you're like playing MIDI and you have too high of a buffer size, sometimes you get issues where you play the note and it doesn't trigger right away. It messes up, and now you have to like quantize stuff. Because really, I'm using a mouse and keypad for all this too. Like, I don't have a MIDI controller right now, and I'm okay with that. Like, you can produce how you want. It's whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have. I use a pair of Sennheiser HD280s. They're like $100. They're honestly, if you want something that's just like a good tracking pair of headphones, they're relatively cheap. Are they like amazing mixing headphones? No. But are they gonna, dude, these things have fallen apart. I've had them for like 10 plus years. The ear pads, like, it's tearing. The head thing is tearing, and I can get new ones. But learning a pair of headphones is important. Like, learning what systems that you have is more important than like the gear. And some people like will come on here and be like, "Oh, well, better gear makes it sound better." And there's a point where it's like, yes, it does, but here's the thing. It only matters once you know how to make it good at the source. Because if you suck, like, how many songs have you heard in the last 10 years where you're like, dude, this performance sucks? And that's what makes the song suck. Is it's not the fact that they used a Sony C800, which new right now are $15,000, sometimes fluctuates to $25,000 for just the microphone. Doesn't count the cables, doesn't count the mic preamp, doesn't count the converters, the studio, multi-million-dollar space, all that stuff, right? And that's why I tell people what really matters, as much as people say the gear matters, what matters more is the performance. Can you perform it really well and do it well with what you have? Because then when you do get to the good gear, it translates. And then once you start getting into good gear, like, you can be more particular about what you're going to buy. Like, does this sound good for me? Does this work for me? Right? Because let me tell you, I've fallen into gear acquisition syndrome. It is one of the worst drug problems you will ever have, because you will never stop spending money. You will never stop spending money constantly buying gear or plugins or things like that. And I'm not talking about like, shooting up drugs or anything. I'm talking about audio gear, but it's very similar, dude. Like, you can ruin your life. You can ruin your life buying audio gear, for real. But some people don't like the HD 280s because they clamp on their head a little hard. But I like them. I feel like they isolate noise pretty well, so you don't really hear the outside world too much. It's just like you hear what's going on in here. Right, and see what I'm saying? Like, that's what happens. It's a sad fate we all experience. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now. Those are the 3 days I'm going to do it. I was doing it a lot more just at random times, but Wednesday's the long stream. I usually start at 7 p.m. CST on Wednesday. And then these late night beat streams, I usually start at like 12 o'clock at night. It's like 2 a.m. Houston time. So, yeah, that's kind of the vibes. Thanks for hopping in, man. I'm glad I could give some insight, kind of talk about some real things. Oh, yeah, dude. This one's going to go in. I'm going to just arrange it real quick and then finish this stream up for tonight. Yeah, arrangement's the quick part, man. It's just the... Isn't that crazy, man? Now I sound like a woman. All right, we'll figure it out. So... Ooh, I got an idea. So, I want to group all these. And then I think I'm going to just halftime it and call it. Maybe focus on this later, but it's pretty close, man. Like, I don't want to do a whole bunch of chops with this one. I just want to kind of keep the drums simple. Because I'm just being lazy. I'm not going to lie. I'm being kind of lazy tonight, but I feel like it sounds pretty good. Ooh. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for checking that out. Actually, I was surprised, dude. After that post, a UFC, I think he's like a UFC fighter, like followed my page. And I was like, what? But it's so true, man. Like, I learned that recently. I feel like when you, because it's so important, man. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't realize faith is a discipline too. Like, if you're going to stand true and have faith, discipline is such a big thing talked about in the Bible, and not only just like denying your flesh, but wanting to understand God's character and constantly trying to learn and grow. And I feel like it's something that a lot of people struggle with because we get this like cheap, fast dopamine with the phones. It's like so quick and easy to consider. I mean, even me, bro. Especially when I'm on the toilet in the morning, dude. It's like hard not to just be so undisciplined and just sit there for hours. Ooh, oh, that ending's cool. I like that a lot. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do for this. I'm going to just call this the end right here. I think I'm about to end this stream too. I'm going to play it back one time because I'm tired and I was yapping most of it. But this was a good stream. This was awesome, dude. Thank y'all for everybody who hopped in. We'll play this from the top. And, this is that same discipline of like, even if you think it's bad, try and at least finish the idea. Like, get it all the way through. Especially this part. I love that. It's definitely pretty close. These like little things like that. Like little like in between sections, some kind of like a riser type deal. I have some. Yeah. Something like that. Oh, I like that. And I try to make stuff too, like when I produce, the different sections could be used for different videos or like for editing. So you could loop apart. I love that outro when it just goes halftime. Just that goes so hard. I don't know, something about that. That halftime outro is insane. Unless Oh, okay, hold on. So started out with this, so I can automate the timing and halftime at the end part, and then I think I'm gonna end it there. Where is it? Loop length? Yeah, okay. So we started out. Oh, dude. Definitely need some stuff to finish it out, but yeah, that was sick, bro. Thank y'all so much for tuning into the stream. I'm gonna end it here. God bless y'all for real. Definitely want to figure out why things are crashing on TikTok, but it's probably my internet. Either way, I appreciate everybody. Have a good evening. God bless y'all. Take care.